France 24's Jessica Lemazurier reporting there. In 2014, the peaceful city of Raqqa in northern Syria was proclaimed the capital of the Islamic State group's so-called caliphate. For nearly 4 years, residents there lived under a reign of terror, with few of their stories ever making it to the outside world. But a new book here in France gives voice to those victims of the Islamic State. L'Asphyxie, or Asphyxiation, the Chronicle of an Apocalypse in Raqqa, is co-written by French reporter Céline Martelet and Syrian journalist Hussam Hammoud. He's just arrived in France, where he was finally granted asylum after an initial rejection by French authorities. Both of them join me on set today to talk about their book. Thank you both so much for being here. Hussam, I want to start with you because you're from Raqqa. What was it like for you to have your home taken over by this group of violent terrorists?
First of all, as a citizen from Raqqa, it was so difficult to see that from people, a terror organization is just trying to control the city. The simple city that it didn't used to deal with this kind of complicated concepts about terrorism. So in a day and night, you just find Raqqa is just like Kabul. So as we mentioned in the book, that it was so hard for Raqqa people just to understand that, yes, it's a rising of a new terrorist group, and it's just happening. We mentioned that in the book that, yes, usually the people think that it must be a big thing when a terror starts in a place. But no, it was so simple. It was happening in front of the people. They didn't realize what's the meaning of it. Then after 4 years, when we saw that it became a global danger, we just realized that, yes, it was a big thing to deal with.
And if people didn't realize that there was sort of a terrorist takeover, what did they think was happening?
Till now, you can say that people are dividing between two kind of people. The people of Raqqa. The first one, who are just considering Daesh as that symbol, is just a new armed group that took control in that situation in 2013, that started in 2013. So they refuse to believe that it's a global danger. So they are dealing just with their daily life. They are going to their work in the morning and getting back, just as any normal citizen around the world. And the second kind of people that are just to focus, to understand what's happening and to fight it. So this is the main two categories in the Raqqa community.
And when were you able to leave Raqqa?
Sorry?
When did you finally leave Raqqa?
I left with the first day because I was directly threatened with the control of IS in 2014. Before 2014, for a year, we tried just to opposite this organization. So that caused a lot of danger on me, on a lot of people that decided to do that. So we were forced to leave since the beginning. And in 2017, when Daesh just started to lose control in some parts of Raqqa, so we directly get back to those areas out of Daesh control.
And can the two of you talk about how you met and decided to write this book together?
We decided to write this book because, from my part, I realized one day that as a French journalist, I made a lot of investigation about French jihadists, about European jihadists. But with Hussam, I think that 1 year ago, we realized that we didn't focus on what happened to the people, the Raqqa people who faced in the first time Daesh people. We never asked them questions about what they felt when Daesh arrived. And what we discovered quickly is that these people, like Hussam just said, didn't understand why all of these people coming from all around the world decide to took the control of Raqqa. So it was, for us, it's so important to just explain that this city was destroyed, and what's happened next in Paris is linked with what's happened in Raqqa. I mean, the Syria and French, we are. I mean, the situation are not the same, but all what's happened in Raqqa has a big link with what happened then 1 year after in Paris.
And can you talk about some of the stories from people in Raqqa that stood out to you?
Yeah, first of all, about the people of Raqqa, that the book itself, it's not about giving the voices to the people of Raqqa. We use that just to make it simple, huh? But it's already, this voice is already existed in Raqqa community. They're talking about these kind of stories in the cafes, in their houses, and it's so normal for them. So our job as journalists was just transferring the sound from those cafes to the audience that it might care about them. Because we need to mention something that now, especially for Raqqa people, after all of this changing of authorities in Raqqa, you can find any citizen from Raqqa, he's just sitting in front of his TV and watching the international news in France, in USA, everywhere, because they know that it affects them. Now, it was just a small city, but now it's the center of the global danger or something like this. So any change in the world, it can affect them. So I think it's fair enough to let the French audience, the American audience, the international audience also know what happened to those people who are following them so much.
Yeah, they had voices, you're just bringing them to us.
Yeah.
Céline, are there any stories that stood out to you?
I think that I just, for example, I met in Paris a young woman. Her name is Hinas, and she was a teenager when Daesh took the control of Raqqa. And she explained in this book that she didn't understand what happened, and she decided to wear a niqab, so to hide herself. And she decided not because Daesh told her to do that, but she decided because she was so afraid about all of these foreigners coming from France, from Tunisia, from Iraq. So she just wanted to protect herself. And she was just a teenager, and she have to left the country so quickly. And now she's in France, she's living in Paris, but she's, as she says, she's still remember what's happened when she was a teenager in her city.
And Hussam, you were living in Turkey and you've just moved to France. You and your family arrived just 3 weeks ago. Can you talk about the decision to come here and what the process was like getting asylum? Because I know you had a difficult time.
Yeah. First, that this decision really came from the demand and the asking of the big campaign, the media one, and also the deputies and the lawyers who decided to support me. It gave me a big lesson about democracy, how it can change something. For me as Syrian citizen, it's the first lesson to see people or a nation try to change a decision and they succeed. It was a big lesson for me, so thanks for everyone. And the second thing that, yes, it's difficult to move to a new country, but that's why I was fighting to come to France, because arriving a country with many friends, with work that since 4 years I'm working for the French agencies, moving to a country that you can't find a background in it, it's better than starting a new life from below zero. Because for us, for me as Syrian, I cannot say that I start from zero, because zero means that at last you have a house, you have a country, you have a government defend your right, but we missed all of this.
We wish you the best in your new life. I imagine that you still have friends and family in Syria. Céline, I know you were back in Raqqa in 2021. How would the two of you describe life in Syria now?
I was in Raqqa this summer, the last July, and what we can say that the situation is so complicated, is still so complicated in this city, because it's so important also, and we explain that in the book, that to say that in 2017 the international coalition destroyed the city and a lot with a lot of airstrike, and the city is still destroyed now, and nobody rebuilt it. And so when you are in Raqqa, there is no clean water, there is no electricity, and you can see also kids who rebuilt the building. And when you are in Raqqa, you feel that everybody forgets the city. Everybody remembers the city as a capital of Khalifa or Daesh organization, but now we feel that everybody forget the city, and for us it's so dangerous to forget this city, because the next monster can come again.
It's
so
true
it's
that
so dangerous.
It's too rarely talked about in the news, and you feel the Islamic State group does remain a threat in Syria.
Yeah, that's the idea. Just communicating what Céline was saying, that today in Raqqa, if we want to talk, there's a big gap between what the people need and what it's provided there. So we can find that most of the non-governmental NGOs or most of the donors are focusing on the democracy workshop. And we're talking about a nation or people who doesn't even have the main service inside city. So we cannot learn them how to live in democracy and other values while they have nothing. While the only people that they need to face the monster that Céline was talking about. That we made a big lie in 2019 when we said that we defeated Daesh, but since last September, 37 operations, military operations was operated from Daesh towards the civilians, the military forces there. So we cannot say that it's finished. And only Raqqa people and the people have to deal with all of this.
It's a worrying situation, and it's important to talk about. Thank you both so much for coming. Céline Martelet and Hussam Hammoud. Your book, L'Asphyxiation, has just come out in France. No word yet on an English translation, but we will, of course, keep people posted here on France 24. Hope to see it in English soon. That's time for us to take a quick break, but stay with us. We'll have more news coming up in just a bit.